And now we're going to be heading into the right-hand side of the bracket, starting with the South region, and then we'll be moving on to the Midwest. Starting at the South, we've got Baylor, the number 1 overall. They're going up against Hartford. Hartford, first time in the tournament as a 16 seed. I don't see a 16 seed being a 1 this year. I think Baylor, they've shown they can be beatable recently, but I think they're too good, and I have them getting out of this region.
Right there with you. They're going to beat Hartford bad.
Yeah. I mean, again, like they're going to beat Hartford terribly. I don't know if you guys watched the America East championship game, but UMass Lowell and Hartford, one of the most unimpressive basketball games I think I've ever watched in my life.
I didn't catch that one. I didn't catch that one, but I
think it was 23 to
lose to Baylor.
I think it was 23 to 18 at the half, which says enough about the conference on its own.
And that kind of sounds like a Wisconsin game heading into the 8-9 matchup, the 23-18 halftime score. North Carolina, Wisconsin. North Carolina to 8, Wisconsin to 9.
Yeah, go ahead, Durham.
Yeah.
This is your team, man.
Yeah. So, two complete opposite teams. Wisconsin, they slow it down. They have Rodrigue Trice, great guard. They really struggle down low. I don't think Potter is really I think he doesn't really do a whole lot for them down low. And I think, opposite for Carolina, inexperienced guard play. They turn the ball over a lot. They like to play fast. They get it inside to their big guys, Baycott, Sharp. Kessler's been coming on lately. And, Brooks is having a little bit of down year than what he was supposed to. But when you got 4 guys around you like that, it's kind of hard to be the go-to his senior year. I think this honestly just will come down to coaching. I think Roy Williams, one of the best coaches in the country. I think Carolina has played an easier schedule than Wisconsin. Wisconsin did beat Loyola Chicago, another 8 seed in the tournament. So that's a good win that they had. But Iowa or Wisconsin hasn't beaten anybody. Like, they have no solid wins. They lost to Michigan twice. They lost to Illinois twice. They lost 3 times to Iowa. They never beat Purdue. They didn't beat Ohio State. They have no really good solid wins besides Loyola Chicago. While Carolina, they've beaten Tech. They've beaten Florida State. They beat Duke twice, if that counts.
Not a good win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, these two teams, exact opposites of each other. I think it'll be pretty close. I think the spread was Carolina 1.5.
I think you know that for sure.
Yeah. I think this will be one of the better games in the tournament. Wisconsin's a little bit higher rated in the BPI, but I'm a little nervous about it because of I know Carolina doesn't play well against teams like Virginia, who has a similar style of play like Wisconsin, really likes to slow it down and not turn the ball over and not run in transition. So I don't think Wisconsin's as good as Virginia, but I think it'll be a similar play style that they have to prepare for.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely something that the Tar Heels will have to prepare for. And again, like you said, this matchup is kind of hard because it's completely opposite teams, like with North Carolina being so young and so fast. And then you have Wisconsin, who just takes their sweet time, waits till like the fourth quarter for Dimitric Trice to make 43 the fourth or at the end of the game. They're both great, but it's just, I think the winner of this matchup is probably going to go to North Carolina only based on the fact that their faster play can catch Wisconsin off guard. And I think if they can score enough, score very early and take a commanding lead, and they could prevent that Wisconsin run in the second half, 5 minutes, where Trice and Porter all go and make their crazy threes.
I've been vocal about Wisconsin. Obviously, thought they were gonna maybe have an advantage here. I do obviously love the point guard matchup for Wisconsin because I think Dimitric Trice is just a way better player than Caleb Love. But the more I think about it, I just think that the Carolina talent is going to win out here. You know, you've got guys like Lee Black, 6'8", 185 to throw onto. You know, a guy like Trice. You know, you could throw Walton on Trice. You could throw Davis. You could Love. You just have a lot of bodies to throw at him. And then, like you mentioned, just the bigs. It's overwhelming. As my Notre Dame team found out, I mean, that was an unwatchable game because they were just giving up offensive rebound after offensive rebound. Micah Potter and Nate Roivers are better than Nate Laszewski and Jawan Durham, but not by that much, and they're not that much bigger either. So I don't know. I think UNC just might kind of physically impose their will. I agree. It's going to be a great game. Great jersey matchup, by the way. The Carolina Blue versus the Wisconsin Red. Andrew Playtech 3 sends Carolina to the round of 32 to face Baylor.
And Andrew Playtech, he had a game winner against Miami earlier in the season, so.
Prediction. And they're going to cover that 1.5 because it's a 3, obviously. So.
Absolutely. But yeah, Carolina, one of the youngest teams in the tournament. Wisconsin, the oldest by far. So I think it's a really polarizing matchup. Villanova Winthrop, a game, the 5-12. Villanova with Gillespie's injury, and Winthrop has only lost one game. I know Winthrop is a popular upset pick. So, Griffin, what do you think about Winthrop and Villanova in this one?
Yeah, obviously entering in with one loss. That's a great record. They have Chandler Vaudrin, who he's had an amazing triple-double this season. He has 3 triple-doubles, and you also have the 6'9", 275-pound DJ Burns, who went from Tennessee to Winthrop. And, I mean, these players definitely have the size to take on Villanova. And I think my one thing is that I guess I have a conference bias, which is why I want to pick Villanova. But with an injury like this, I think Winthrop is a popular upset pick.
You have an East Coast bias. The Philly teams. You love the Philly teams. You can admit it.
Totally.
No, I think Winthrop probably takes this one. No more. Do we have a status update on Moore? I don't actually know if Justin Moore's going to be playing in this one. I think that'll make a big difference. But like you mentioned, Winthrop has high major talent, high major size. And I know it's Jay Wright, of course, a great coach, and telling his team this whole week, they're picking Winthrop's the upset pick, but I don't even know if it is at this point because it just feels like without Gillespie, this team's like an 8 or a 9, and Winthrop's a really good 12. Even though they really haven't played anybody, great, but they have just shredded. I think it's the Big South Conference. So I like Winthrop.
Winthrop beat UNCG, and is the only other turn. They beat them by 8, so that's a pretty good win.
Yeah, that's a good win.
Another 13 seed there. They also beat Furman, which is a team that could have made the tournament. But I think in order for the Wildcats to win, I think Jeremiah Robinson Earl, he's going to have to take over. Right? He's really going to have to do it all for the Wildcats.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And this Purdue's the 4 seed in this region going against North Texas. I don't really know that much about North Texas at all. I know they do have a few notable games on their schedule. They played West Virginia and Arkansas, and as well as Loyola Chicago. They lost all 3, but they did win their tournament. Their conference USA. They seem to be well balanced. This is the first time in the tournament since 2010, but I think Purdue and I think they're too big and too well coached for North Texas here. I know this is not a very popular upset pick, so.
No, it's not, and I don't think we'd spend too much time. I will say, I watched Texas in that championship game of I think CUSA versus Western Kentucky, and they did a really good job on Charles Bassey, who's a kind of stud center for WKU. So I do think they can kind of limit Travion Williams because even Travion's not nearly as athletic, maybe a little more skilled, but not nearly as athletic or big as Bassey is. So I think they could try to limit Travion, and no one's going to limit Zach Edey when he gets in there. 7'3", 7'4" guy out of Canada, freshman. He's been a monster this year when he's gotten in. But like you said, Purdue's guards, Eric Hunter, Jaden Ivey, Stefanovic hasn't been great since he came back from COVID, but Ivy and Hunter in particular, Newman, just too much for North Texas, I think. And even though they're young, they're too much talent.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, Matt Painter, obviously proven coach, should be an easy win for the Boilermakers with their size and their talent.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people have that one. I think Winthrop would give them a better shot than North Texas if we see that in the round of 32. This Texas Tech matchup, a lot of eyes in Bloomington on this one with Chris Beard. It actually played here at Assembly Hall, so that'll be a good one. Playing Utah State, so Texas Tech, Mcclung, he's their best player. I think they might be able to make another run to the Final Four here. I think they could easily get past Arkansas in the round of 32 if it gets to that point. But don't sleep on this Utah State team, the 11 seed. They've got a 7-footer in Kada, and he averages a double-double, 14.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't seen him play, he is a monster, and Texas Tech has no one that big, really that big.
Yeah.
And that's something Texas Tech has dealt with all season. When they played teams like Kansas with McCormick and West Virginia, and even Baylor, teams with size, they really struggled. They did better against teams like Oklahoma. They did beat Texas twice, so that's good for them. But I think that's an interesting matchup. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's Texas Tech." Mac McClung going to be too much, but I think this is a matchup people need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Mac McClung's been pretty inconsistent. I'm a fan of his, but it's not like he shows up and drops 25 every game. He's solid, but he isn't always like their go-to guy. They're a good team, not a great team. Obviously, a well-coached team. But Utah State, Craig Smith's a great coach. You may see him be considered for the Utah job, which just opened up their 8th in defensive rating, even higher in adjusted defensive rating per KenPom. Utah State's a really solid team with really unique size. This is going to be a back and forth game. I like Texas Tech to squeak it out, but this is going to be like easily single digits and could go either way. So anyone saying, "Oh, it's easily Texas Tech," I'd be careful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This Utah State team, another, I guess, sleeper pick. Not sleeper picks going far, but like just for this game specifically. I mean, I have Texas Tech winning this one, obviously, but I mean, with the talent that the Aggies bring, this could be a very close one. And I agree with what Aidan said. This is easily a single-digit game.
And I think it'll be one of the closer 6-11s in the tournament. I think we got a lot of good 6-11 games in this tournament. I think Texas Tech would match up better, good against Arkansas. Arkansas is a team who, doesn't really have a whole lot of size. They got Justin Smith, second team All SEC, transferred from IU, unfortunately. And, he's really developed there for them this year, kind of propelled them into their success. They won 12 games in a row before losing to LSU in the SEC semifinals. So they're definitely hot. I think Colgate is a team that, they have a good record. They've only lost one game, but they just have not played anybody. They haven't played a single opponent with a top 75 net.
Yeah, this Colgate team's kind of hard to judge because it's like on one hand, you look at their conference, they have been extremely hot and they were able to take down their opponents pretty easily. They have one of the best players in that conference, Jordan Burns, who averages at least 15 points a game with 1.83 points per game. But again, they haven't played anyone. They don't have a top 75 win, which is a little concerning. So I can see why people think it'll be a Arkansas easy victory, but with the way that Colgate has been playing recently and the faith that I have in them a little bit, I think they'll shock people with the way they play, but I'm not expecting a Raider victory.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna score, but I think Arkansas is gonna score more, and it'll be like like 190 or something like that. Just crazy because Arkansas just too talented. Moses Moody going to be a top 15 pick. He's really, really good. So I think Arkansas. But yeah, like you said, Durham, I think they're ripe for an upset. Arkansas, I think when you look at this team, they could easily lose in the second round, third round. I don't really see them getting very far.
They're that's one of the first games in the round of 64. That's a 12:45 on Friday, so that should be fun. A fun way to start the tournament. And the bottom two games, Ohio State, Oral Roberts. Not going to talk about that one much. I think Ohio State has that one handily. And then Virginia Tech, Florida. Two pretty evenly matched teams. Virginia Tech plays really tough. They're a really tough team. They play really hard. Radford is really good. Kiva Luma, he can really shoot. He's they started the season 13-3. They've slowed down a little, but they beat Villanova and Virginia. So those are two good wins for them. Florida with the Keontae Johnson thing that happened earlier in the season. Horrible to lose him that way for the rest of the season in that Florida State game. But they have a 14-9 record. They beat West Virginia. They beat LSU. They have a win against Tennessee, but other than that, I'm actually not very high on the Gators.
Yeah, I'm not very high on the Gators either. I mean, they have their I guess their notable results, but honestly more of them are just losses, and the only one that kind of impresses me here is like their 4-point win against LSU and their 5-point win against West Virginia. But I just think that Virginia Tech is the better team of the two, and it's not necessarily like an underseeding versus overseeding. I think just Virginia Tech is going to play a better game.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech's better coach. Mike Young's a really good coach. I think Florida might have the best player when he's playing well in Trey Mann, their point guard. But I like Virginia well. I'm just not really a fan of this Florida team. I do like Trey Mann, but the team has been underwhelming. Not really sure how they got a 7 seed, to be honest.
I just saw this. Georgia Tech star Moses Wright just tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah. I saw that too.
Just breaking news. That is huge for Georgia Tech. We'll get on to that. Actually, let's just go ahead and jump right into that. That's one of our next matchups. Wow. I think I had the Yellow Jackets over Loyola Chicago. I don't know what they're going to do with that now.
They're going to lose to Loyola for sure.
Yeah. That is a huge loss. He's all their size. Georgia Tech doesn't really have a lot of size besides Moses Wright. He's the ACC Player of the Year. Alvarado is a really good point guard. He's a really good defender. He can really get out in the fast break. He plays really tough, but that is a huge loss. I was really looking forward to a potential Illinois Georgia Tech round of 32. I think that'd be a really good game.
But yeah, man, that sucks.
Maybe it's a false positive. We'll have to see and hear more information, but that just came through.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Now you look at that matchup and you go, who's Cameron Krutwig for Loyola Chicago? They're a talented center. I don't really see that happening. So that's a game I thought could go either way. Now I think you got to kind of favor Loyola Chicago. And, it just raises questions. This ACC tournament, man, it's producing Duke. Ended their season. Virginia, they were stopped with COVID. Now it's Georgia Tech. So it's worrisome to say the least, especially because I think I read that, Duke is still having new guys test positive from last week. So I'm worried that, Virginia or Georgia Tech or FSU, whoever, who played those games could potentially have a situation like this. That just sucks for Georgia Tech, though, because that's a really fun team, and I just don't see them beating Loyola now.
Yeah.
I think that's a tough loss for them. So that's just – I think Georgia Tech got a pretty rough seeding, too. I think they're better than a 9 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That is – it's tough for the Yellow Jackets because this is their first NCAA tournament appearance in a long time. I think the last time they went was maybe 2013. Not sure though.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think it's so.
That's tough for them. But in the whole Midwest, Illinois, I don't think they'll have a problem. I see Oklahoma State giving them a tough game. But other than that, I think it's a pretty cakewalk for them in this region. Illinois is my champion pick right now. Before the term, I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there.
I really want to see that Oklahoma State matchup between Cade Cunningham, obviously, and Io DeSumo for Illinois. But look, I think the three of us we've seen a lot of Illinois even together at times, and it's just an impressive team, top to bottom, really talented roster. I think they got to be the favorite in this region, especially if you don't think much of Houston or West Virginia, the 2 and the 3, and I really don't. I think Oklahoma State, if they were a 3, would probably get to the Elite 8. Looking at that bottom half, I think they were underseeded. Frankly, I thought they should have been a 3. They were 4. Tough for them having a net Illinois, but yeah, I agree with you. I think Illinois, this maybe even the region I would say the 1 seed is most likely to advance in. Maybe that's a bit of a hot take, but I just look at Houston, West Virginia, Oak State, San Diego State, even not Tennessee, but who's the 5 in that region?
Tennessee. No, you're right. Tennessee's the 5.
No, it is Tennessee. It is Tennessee. They're not too super impressive to me. So I think Illinois kind of, cakewalk's a pretty good word for it. I like their draw there for sure.
Yeah, and like moving on to the Tennessee Oregon State, I think Tennessee Oregon State barely squeaked into the tournament, was picked to finish last in the Pac-12, and won the conference tournament there. So good for them and on making the tournament, but I don't really see them having a long stay.
No, maybe they beat Tennessee, but after that, it's
Yeah, this is one that, I mean, I've seen people possibly talk about picking as an upset. I mean, the Oregon State team, they've been hot, and Tennessee hasn't really been overall that impressive lately. So I could see this going to the Beavers, but after that, they're getting smoked by Oklahoma State, or even if somehow Liberty wins.
Yeah, by the way, shout out Liberty. We should mention that because Liberty is a really good team, and it's another one where I feel like if you guys drew anyone but Cade Cunningham, I think you might actually have a chance to win. But I will say this, I wouldn't be blown away if they beat Oklahoma State. I'm just going to say that right now. They really, really just have the right formula to beat these big schools. Like, they're able to slow it down, but they can also make shots. And they've got the guy you need to kind of light it up in Darius McGee, who's, I believe, their leading scorer. He's averaging, 16 a game, shoots at 42% from 3.
Makes just about 3.5 threes a game.
Yeah, just this 5'9" dude who's just going to pull it from anywhere. Love watching him play. Look out for them. They will keep that game within single digits with Oklahoma State, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this, just like you said, Darius McGee, he leads the whole conference with their whole scoring and everything. I mean, he's a stellar player, and I do agree that if they had literally almost, I don't want to say any, but almost any other team that they were playing, they could win some games and do some damage. But unfortunately, they got the draw against Cade Cunningham.
Yeah. The Flames they can really shoot, like you said, Aidan. Number one, they shot 40% from 3 as a team on the season. Really impressive. But Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State can also really shoot. So I think that'll be a good matchup in the round of 64. One to look out for sure. The San Diego State Syracuse 6-11 game. A lot of people were sleeping on the Aztecs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, Griff, but I just really like the San Diego State team. They're really well coached by Brian Dutcher, and Matt Mitchell, to me, is the perfect guy to put in the middle of that 2-3, 3-2, whatever you want to call it, Syracuse zone. I like San Diego State a lot. I think they could easily make a run to the Elite 8 here. They're well coached. They're talented. they haven't lost a lot of games. I know they don't play very much, but they also really guard you. 90 or 89.8 defensive rating, which is ninth in the country. I really like the team, so I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I think Syracuse, like, they weren't good this year. Like, I know they've had a little bit of a run here, and they can certainly shoot the lights out, but they were kind of average in a bad ACC this year. So I don't really see the love for Syracuse. They really haven't beaten anybody. They almost beat teams, but I don't think they've really gotten through yet. I don't see them beating a disciplined team in San Diego State.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that take. I mean, like, yes, Hughes has Buddy Boeheim and Alan Griffin who've been doing fantastic for the team, but San Diego State, they had a very good season. I mean, I think they can handle Syracuse. And I get the type of Jim Boeheim leading another squad in March, but I don't see this year being the year Syracuse actually does anything. I mean, usually they shock the world like as they did in 2013 or as they did a couple years even before that, but this year I don't see them even getting past San Diego State, especially with Remy Martin, who is averaged like I think it was 9 points against the Arizona State victory.
Yeah. I think I do think Buddy Boeheim is severely underrated. I think he is a phenomenal player. I think he doesn't get enough credit. Like, he really is Syracuse's whole team. If you look at it, I've watched them play a few times. He can shoot from anywhere, and once he gets hot, it's tough to stop him. But the Aztecs have a top 10 defense in the country. You know, last year they were going to be a 1 seed in the tournament before it got canceled. They only had 1 loss. And they did lose their point guard, but an underrated team this year for sure. Only 4 losses, and they're 6 seed. You don't really see that a whole lot.
Yeah, I think they're kind of underrated. I don't know. I think they're better than some fives. I like them better than Tennessee. I'll tell you that. So I don't know. I kind of like them.
And West Virginia is the 3 seed in this region. They'll be going up against Morehead State. The Mountaineers have had an up and down season. They had a tough non-conference schedule. Played Gonzaga pretty tough, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think they can. They're up and down, but I think they certainly have the talent to make the Elite Eight in this bottom half. Bob Huggins, I will say, if Syracuse does win that first game, I'd love to see a Bob Huggins, Jim Boeheim, old Big East kind of matchup there. I think that'd be really fun. But West Virginia's talented. They're Derek Culver, Miles McBride. They've got a lot of firepower. To think they lost Oscar Sheboy too. They could have been even better if he hadn't transferred out. So they're impressive.
McBride is really good. He's really good. He's clearly, I think, their best player, one of the best players in the pack or in the Big 12. And then, Morehead State, they beat Belmont twice, which was a bubble team who a lot of people think should have gotten in. They did lose to Ohio State by 33. They also lost to Clemson, who is just a few teams below them. They've produced some guys like Kenneth Fareed to the NBA, but
the manimal.
Yeah. I don't really know a whole lot about this Morehead State team. Joni Broom is pretty good. He's a freshman. He's a big guy, averaging 14 a game, 9 rebounds. Can really play defense, but averages about 2 blocks a game. But they've won 7 straight as well, so they're pretty hot. But I think this Mountaineers team is pretty good. But I also don't see this West. I don't really see this as an intriguing matchup, to be honest.
I don't either. I think
even this region as a whole, besides Oklahoma State and Illinois, I don't really see it in this one.
No.
I'm right there with. I think this region's, like I said, I think Houston's the weakest 2 seed. I think West Virginia, one of the weaker 3s. Certainly that they're not better than Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State got a 4. But I didn't really in that part of it. San Diego State's a pretty good 6, I think. But yeah, this bottom half of the bracket's there for the taking, which is why you almost feel like this is the chance to pick your your upset if you have a team that you think could make a run, whether that's a San Diego State or I don't know, maybe a Rutgers or Clemson, whatever, kind of you certainly decide on. But I think there's the opportunity is there for a team to come out of nowhere and make a run.
And speaking of Rutgers, there's been a lot of talk on social media with Geo Baker, some of the stuff he's been putting out about sort of the bubble conditions in Indianapolis. I think this Clemson team is a little overseeded. I don't think they're a 7 seed. I think they're around a 10 seed. But they're playing a 10 seed. It doesn't really matter. Pretty even matchup. I do have the Scarlet Knights in this one though. Griffin, since you're from that area, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this Rutgers team is absolutely special. This is the first time they've made the tournament in almost 30 years. I think the last time they made it was 1991, and they should have made it last year had COVID not happened. This team has chemistry, and that is what is keeping them alive. I mean, you have Ron Harper Jr., Geo Baker, Paul Mulcahy, and Miles Johnson, and then you also have Jacob Young. All 5 of them fantastic players. They've been able to carry this team from the dead. I mean, throughout the season, they shouldn't have even made the tournament with the injuries that they deal with. But after sweeping Indiana, series at the very end and keeping it close with ranked teams, this Rutgers team has proven why a threat to our conference. And I think they have more impressive notable results compared to Clemson. I mean, they split with Michigan State, which, okay, that's not good. But if you really look at their first Michigan State game, it was just Jacob Young carrying this Rutgers team, and because everyone was injured and some had COVID. They only lost to Wisconsin by 6, and they beat Purdue by 5, and Purdue's pretty hot right now. And then you look at Clemson, where, I mean, the only thing I see on their actual conference is at beating Bama by 8, and then splitting Georgia Tech, and then Syracuse. I think Rutgers has a much more impressive split as well with Illinois. Take that into account.
Yeah, I think Rutgers probably wins this one, but I don't know. It feels like the one where it's like we all pick Rutgers and somehow we 2 days go by and Clemson wins it. I don't know. I think it'll be a very good game between 2 fairly evenly matched teams. I really like Amir Sims for Clemson, but I don't know. Geo Baker and Ron Harper, as we've seen as Indiana fans, when they get tough to stop, and Miles Johnson's a force inside. So I like Rutgers, and it's such a good story for them to make the tournament again, a historic one that they made last year that they weren't able to participate in. So
yeah, and the 2 seed of the Midwest, Houston, led by Kelvin Sampson, going to be returning to Assembly Hall. That'll be in Bloomington here.
Should never have let him go.
Yeah. Some may disagree with that, but I guess he's changed his ways. With Houston, he's had a lot of success there, so good for him. Houston's got really good guard play. Everybody remembers. Well, I don't remember it, but I've only heard about it. Phi Slamma Jamma back with Hakeem Olajuwon. They lost to that NC State team with Jim Valvano. But Giroux can really, in Gorham, they're really good guards. They can really shoot. They always have good guards. I feel like Houston does. Really good ball handlers, just senior guys, leaders. Cleveland State, I honestly just don't really know a whole lot about them. 19-7, not too impressive. They lost to Ohio State by 6, so I guess that's favorable for them earlier in the season.
Yeah, I like Houston here. Obviously big. Dennis Gates is a good coach for Cleveland State, but beyond that, I think just the talent. Quentin Grimes, who I don't think you mentioned, is their go-to guy down the stretch, and I think you need one of those in the tournament. It wouldn't shock me if this team made the Elite 8, but it just feels like some of these other teams, it just feels like Houston's not quite good enough to just dominate these other teams. That's why it's it's an open region, but Houston could easily make their own run, and I don't even know that everyone would see that coming, because I think they're kind of slept on. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, this Cleveland State team, they do have senior forward Torrey Patton, who has 14.9 points per game and then 8 rebounds a game. He's their most consistent scorer. I mean, he's been doing well for the team. And then you also have, side note, the best name in the league, I think, but Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year, Trey Gormillion, who is an unquestionable leader at both ends. But this team is not enough of a threat to Houston, and I think Houston easy.
Yeah, I would be intrigued to see a San Diego State Houston game. I think those are actually two very similar teams in just in the way they play. Um, Houston does have a few good wins over Texas Tech and Wichita State, two tournament teams, but overall not the toughest strengths of schedule. But neither does San Diego State. I just think that'd be a good, for two mid majors, non-power 5 schools. I think that'd be a cool Sweet 16 to see. But overall, this Midwest region, I just don't see it as too impressive.
Agreed. I think it's probably the weakest region, like I said. You want to do Final Four picks before we get out of here?
Yeah. I guess I'll just go ahead and start. So coming out of the West, I got Gonzaga. I originally had Iowa. I ended up changing it. And out of the East, I already stated Texas. Out of the South, I got Baylor, and then out of the Midwest, Illinois. So I got 3 1 seeds and a 3 seed. And then in my national championship game, I have Texas and Illinois. I have the Longhorns beating the Zags. And then I got Illinois as my national champ.
I've got Gonzaga, go back and forth between Baylor and Ohio State, up there in the South region, I believe. But I'm going to go with Baylor. So I'll go Gonzaga, Baylor, Alabama down in the bottom left half, and then Illinois. I've got Illinois losing a close one to Baylor, Gonzaga beating Alabama, and then Baylor losing to Gonzaga. So I got Gonzaga. I got chalk pick and Gonzaga national champ. I don't think they'll just like blow away the field if anyone's thinking that. I don't think that'll be the case. I think they'll need to win some tough ones.
Much similar to Durham, I have Baylor and Illinois on the right side, with Illinois winning a very close one. And then on the left side, I have Gonzaga, and I've been stuck between Bama and Texas. But as of right now, I have the Longhorns. That very much could change, but regardless, I have Gonzaga winning that one. And I don't know how hot of a take this is, but I have Illinois winning this by like 5.
Mm-hmm. I think Illinois is the hottest team in the country right now. I really do. I think they're really well coached. They've got a lot of guys. Trent Frazier, Io DeSumo, of course, Coburn, Curbelo. Like, I just think they're loaded. I really do. I think this is the best team Illinois had clearly since Darren Williams back in 2005.
And I think another thing to note that is the Elite 8 game with Illinois, and if all assumedly goes well, Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State could throw them for a loop.
Yeah, I think that Sweet 16 would be a good matchup, I think. I was also, like I said earlier, looking forward to Georgia Tech, Illinois. I don't know if we'll get that now with the Moses Wright news.
Yeah, which is still, it's still just a rumor at this point, but it does seem pretty likely because I guess he hasn't been shown in any of their like practice footage, and they're confirmed to have a player positive. They just haven't revealed it, and they won't until game time. So I guess we'll see when they play Loyola. But frustrating to say the least. Give me a good tournament, boys. Can't wait to watch it and break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be back next week covering some of the recaps of the games. Be a lot shorter episodes next time. Just have a lot to cover this time, being the first one. But yeah, so I'm William McDermott, joined here with Griffin Healy. Aidan Kunst will be getting this out to you guys every week. If you guys are listening, share with people, anything you guys want. Thanks for joining us.